Instead, it made noise because I don't know that I had it handy. But anyway, you can turn in your hymnals tonight to page number 356. And I was reading. I was undecided long about Sunday as to where to go on the history of the hymns, and we're working on some songs. Miss Robin's working on a song, and she's been under the weather and couldn't be here. But 1894 was the year of this hymn. And I love what the writer says. Now, I've taken the notes tonight from Robert J. Morgan's book, Then Sings My Soul, which is 150 of the world's greatest hymn stories. I will tell you, I got to tell you something kind of funny. My mom told me when I started this, and she's a lover of the old hymns, and her mother taught her all the old hymns, and they used to sing them around the house, and she said, "Son, you're never going to run out of hymns." And I thought about that for a second. I thought, well, sure we are. I mean, and then Brother Dean let me borrow this book. Well, it turns out this is one of 3 volumes of books, and this is just one source on this. So we'll never run out of hymns to sing and talk about the history of. But many New Testament promises have corresponding verses in the Old Testament that reinforce their power, the author says. When Peter, for example, made the comment there, to humble yourself under the mighty hand of God, that he may lift you up in due time, casting all your cares upon him, in 1 Peter 5, 6 through 7. He was but just restating David's words in Psalm 55 and 22, where it's cast your burdens on the Lord. And you know that passage very well. And Elisha A. Huffman loved those verses, and he was born way back in 1839 in Pennsylvania. By the way, a lot of our hymn writers from Pennsylvania. I found that interesting. His father was a minister, and Elisha followed Christ at a young age and attended Philadelphia public school, studied science, then pursued the classics at Union Seminary of the Evangelical Association, wherever that is. He worked for 11 years with the association's publishing house in Cleveland, Ohio, and then following the death of his young wife. See, there's always tragedy in the life of many of the hymn writers. He returned to Pennsylvania and devoted 33 years to pastoring Benton Harbor Presbyterian Church. And Hoffman's pastime was writing hymns, which in many were inspired by pastoral incidences. For one day, for example, while calling on the destitute of Lebanon, Pennsylvania, he met a woman whose depression seemed beyond cure. She opened her heart and poured on him her pent-up sorrows. Wringing her hands, she cried, "What shall I do? What shall I do? Oh, please tell me, what shall I do?" And Hoffman knew that what she should do, for he himself learned the deeper lessons of God's comfort. He said to the woman, "You cannot do better than to take all your sorrows to Jesus. You must tell Jesus." Suddenly the lady's face lighted up. "Yes," she cried, "that's it. I must tell Jesus." Her words echoed in Hoffman's ears, and he mulled them over as he returned home. He drew out his pen and started writing, "I must tell Jesus, I must tell Jesus. I cannot bear my burdens alone. I must tell Jesus. I must tell Jesus. Jesus can help me, and Jesus alone." Mr. Hoffman lived quite a long life at 90 years of age, telling Jesus his burdens and giving the church such hymns as "What a Wonderful Savior," "Down at the Cross," "Are You Washed in the Blood," "Leaning on the Everlasting Arms," and 1,000 more. But let's spotlight tonight's hymn 356. You've got it there. I'll let you remain seated. This is the wonderful old hymn that's got the message of all messages for all believers. I must tell Jesus. I must tell Jesus all of my trials. I cannot bear my burdens alone. In my distress, He kindly will help me. He ever loves and cares for His own. I must tell Jesus, I must tell Jesus. I cannot bear my burdens alone. I must tell Jesus, I must tell Jesus. Jesus can help me, Jesus alone. I must tell Jesus all of my troubles. He is a kind, compassionate friend. If I but ask Him, He will deliver. Make up my troubles quickly and end. I must tell Jesus, I must tell Jesus, I cannot bear my burdens alone. I must tell Jesus, I must tell Jesus. Jesus can help me, Jesus alone. Tempted and tried, I need a great Savior, one who can help my burdens to bear. I must tell Jesus, I must tell Jesus, He all my cares and sorrows will share. I must tell Jesus, I must tell Jesus, I cannot bear my burdens alone. I must tell Jesus, I must tell Jesus. Jesus can help me, Jesus alone. Oh, how the world to evil allures me. Oh, how my heart is tempted to sin. I must tell Jesus, and He will help me. He ever loves and cares for. Oh, I'm sorry. I must tell Jesus, I must tell Jesus, I cannot bear my burdens alone. I must tell Jesus, I must tell Jesus. Jesus can help me, Jesus alone.